Hi, my name is Chad Delesk. I'm an associate attorney with the law offices of Paulette, Balin and Associates, and I'm making this video today to talk to you about strokes. A lot of times I have clients call me and ask me whether or not they can get disability benefits based upon them having a stroke. Now, the simple answer to that is yes. The long answer is, well, it depends. And it really depends on the severity of your stroke and how long that severity is expected to last. To be able to qualify for disability benefits with the Social Security Administration, you had to show that you have a physical and/or mental impairment that significantly impacts your ability to perform work on a sustained basis for at least a duration of 12 months or be expected to result in death. Now, there's actually two ways that we assess strokes with Social Security. One is under the medical listings, and Social Security publishes what they call the listing of impairments. And it's exactly that. It's a list of various impairments under different body systems, and it lists out criteria that you need to meet in order to establish disability. Now, there's actually one on point for strokes, which is under listing 11.04. And I'm just going to read from it directly here because it does get kind of complicated here as far as what it requires. And there's actually three subparts to it: A, B, and C. And if you meet any of those, either A, B, or C, Social Security will automatically find that you're disabled. Now, under A, it requires sensory or motor aphasia resulting in ineffective speech or communication. And that has to persist for at least 3 months after the original stroke. What does that mean? Well, Social Security does provide some examples of what that means. Inability to follow one-step commands is an example, or inability to tell someone your basic personal needs without assistance is another example. So that's the first criteria that you could possibly meet. The second, under B, is disorganization of motor function in two extremities, and that's important, the two extremities part, resulting in an extreme limitation in the ability to either stand up from a seated position, to balance while standing or walking, or use the upper extremities. And again, this must persist for at least 3 months after the insult. So the first part that I emphasize under Part B is the two extremities. So you must have two extremities that are extremely limited. And it could be both legs, it could be both arms, or it could be one arm and one leg, okay? Examples would be inability to stand up from a seated position, which means that once you're seated, in order to stand up, you either need assistance from another individual or you need an assistive device, such as 2 canes or a walker. Okay, that would satisfy that criteria. The other was balance while standing or walking. So you cannot remain upright without assistance from an assistive device, and it has to be either 2 canes, 2 crutches, or a walker, so that you're using both of those upper extremities. Remember, we need 2 upper extremities involved. The third was use of the upper extremities. So both arms are significantly impacted to where you have difficulty feeling, fingering, grasping, reaching, lifting, carrying. Okay, now that's under Part B. The third part is Part C, which requires marked limitation, okay, in physical functioning. Again, I'm going to read from this. And in one of the following areas of mental functioning. So it's kind of a hybrid situation. So the physical limitations don't rise to the level of being extreme. So Social Security has a 5-point system where they rate severity, okay? It goes none, mild, moderate, marked, and extreme. So we talked about extreme, which was in the last subset under B, and that's a complete inability to do those functions. Now, marked is a little bit less. It's one rung below extreme, and that is seriously impacted. Okay, that's what that means. That's how Social Security defines it. It's very murky, but marked limitation in physical functioning. What are examples of that? Well, it could be uncorrectable blurred vision, double vision. It could be difficulty breathing, and you need to use a portable CPAP machine. Or it could be episodes of aspiration that happen at least once a week, okay? So that would fulfill the marked limitation in physical functioning. The areas of mental functioning that Social Security looks at, there's 4 areas, okay? One is understanding, remembering, or applying information. Another is interacting with others. A third is concentrating, persisting, and maintaining pace. And the last is adapting or managing oneself. So you need a marked limitation in one of those mental areas. So that's why I say it's a hybrid, because they're combining both the physical and the mental functioning to find that you meet this criteria. Now that's, what I gave there was one overall way that they could find you disabled based upon meeting one of these listings, right? And like I said, they have one for stroke. The other way is they look at what kind of limitations flow from your stroke and any other impairments that you have. And then they determine what kind of limitations you have, and then in turn, what kind of jobs might be out there for you. Now, you may not meet or equal one of these listings, but you might be so significantly impacted by your stroke and other conditions that you cannot perform any work. One of the things we typically talk about is off-task behavior or absenteeism. So maybe you're so fatigued, or maybe you have cognitive deficits that don't quite rise to the level of meeting a listing, but they still cause you to be off task at work. And most of the time, if you're off task anywhere from 10 to 20% or more of the time, Social Security will come back and say that you can't perform any work. Similarly, if you have limitation in just one upper extremity, say it's your dominant arm and you can't use it, well, while you're not impacted in 2 extremities, most jobs require pretty frequent use of both of your upper extremities. So if you can't use your dominant hand, there's probably not a whole lot of jobs out there that you can do. And there's other impairments and limitations that could affect your ability to work. And we want to make sure that we cover all those, because the more conditions you're treated for, the less number of jobs Social Security will be able to say that you can do. Now, if you have any questions about stroke and qualifying for disability benefits, please reach out to us at any time. We can also help you file an initial application. We can be reached at 866-49-BALIN, B-A-L-I-N. Of course, you can go to our website, balinlaw.com. You can use the chat feature, or you can send us an email, and we'll be in contact with you as soon as possible. Thank you.